What's up, guys? Welcome back to the infamous project, a follow-up update on my 2000 SVT Lightning. You can see I've actually got a little bit more breathing room in the shop here, and that's because I recently just pulled out my SRT 10 because I want to get that thing on the road. It hasn't seen the light of day in 6 years now. It's gone 21 miles in 6 years. Like 20 of which happened in the past year, just trying to keep things moving. But with that said, give some room to work on the Lightning. Now, last night I got ambitious. I came out here around 9:30 p.m. and I pulled out the 32 valve motor. And I wasn't gonna get that on film because I was just motivated. I wanted to get it out. And I think you guys have seen enough in and out coming out of this truck. So surprisingly enough, I actually had more of the transmission bolts bolted into the block than I had originally thought, but not everything was there. It was just kind of loosely in place on the, whatchamacallits, the dowel pins. There we go. Sometimes, you know, you draw a blank when you're trying to freestyle here. But motor's out, which means we got lots of room to work in here. I'm going to be able to hook my steering shaft back up factory style, which I'm very excited for, and not having to worry about all the custom fab stuff and everything that it would have taken to get those turbos and everything else mounted and bolted on there. So that is my old motor, cylinder 4, compression is down. I actually went through and pulled the pan the other day because I was bored, and here's the results. I'll share with you guys some footage from there, but kind of looks like some pieces of piston. And these two spark plugs are actually the two, number 4 and number 8, that came out of the motor out of the Harley truck. I think I had said in the video that we had to put a big bar on there to get them out. Well, here we go. And as I had mentioned, really lucky we didn't strip any threads. So there we go. Plugs are out. That motor's bad. If anybody is interested in this 32 valve, reach out to me. I am probably pretty motivated to sell it. Now, part of me wanted to just leave it on a stand, save it for another project, maybe outfit it with the Australia, and I forget the name of the shop, but they have a adapter plate that can actually allow you to bolt a GT500 style blower onto that style 32 valve motor. But for the cost that I'd be into it, I could go Godzilla. So that's my train of thought on that. So if you come out here, it's windy. So my apologies, I know the wind always gets the GoPro. But I got motivated again the other night, and it was dark out when I pulled this out. I pulled it out all as one big unit. It's laying down on the ground here, and everything came out pretty good. You can see where the transmission mount, I dropped that out, and didn't make too much of a mess. Some of this mess was here before, some of it is new. This is actually all from Ricky's truck. You know, those diesels always leaking oil. I think he's got the famous crank seal leak going on there. But here is the motor. So I've already soaked down all the bolts for the manifolds because these are always fun to take off. And what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to jack the motor up some. I'm going to get the transmission unbolted and get this thing up in the air because we got a lot of maintenance to do. Look at this truck. Can't wait till it's back on the road again. Look at this deal. I got the deal of a century, guys. If you guys remember, I had an issue with this front right tire. It bulged on me on the inside, and then I put on some random Fulda brand that I had laying around. And then when I was doing the updated DJM shocks, I noticed the inside of the sidewall was pretty much split all the way around. So I put this other Fulda that I had, and that was my last 315/25/23 that I had in my stockpile until I found a matching Continental, brand new with the stickers on it, on eBay, $80 shipped to my door. So needless to say, This guy will be able to go on there, and I'm going to have back to matching set of Contis, which I'm very excited for. So if we look over here, I got a table full of maintenance items. So we got full timing chain set, tensioners and chain guides, brand new Motocraft water pump, brand new oil pump. We got our NGK TR6 spark plugs, got a new timing cover gasket, oil pan gasket, and valve cover gaskets. So should have everything we need, plus fresh oil, fresh filter. You can see here's all the parts that came off the top end of the motor. I was actually very surprised how nice and clean the intercooler was up here. There was a couple like little leaves and stuff that probably blew in through the plenum, through the blower, but everything looked pretty clean. And the cool thing about the blower, somebody already did the JB Weld mod here for the silencer holes, so that's pretty cool. And all the impellers, everything looked real good. They stripped the rotors down, so that Teflon coating's already gone. And yeah, this blower seems to be in pretty good shape. Gonna jack up the motor, grab some tools, don't even know what I need. Got to get the torque converter off the flywheel, flex plate, whatever you want to call it. And see, I got a box here. So if we actually look down in here, it's actually nice and clean. That was pretty much the extent of the oil in here. You know, I had to give it a little wipey wipe with this rag, but again, everything is pretty nice and clean. So let's get this motor jacked up, get this transmission off, and hopefully get this thing mounted on a stand. All right, guys, there we go. Not too bad. Transmission's here. Next time somebody with some muscles is around, we'll do a team lift on that and get that out of the way. Still got the transmission cooler and the lines all hooked up to it, so it's just nice to have spare parts kicking around. Of course, the torque converter is still on there, and we'll clean up all this hardware. I'm actually going to reuse that starter, so that actually kind of works out pretty good because the terminal broke off. But here we are. You can see I cut a piece of 4x4 and just kind of wedged it underneath the front side of the pan there. Just kind of give a little bit of support to the front side of the motor. And I don't know, sometimes with bigger motors, I don't like all that weight being supported just from the back. So especially because we'll probably be putting quite a bit of tension on this guy to get this pulley off and torquing stuff down, so on and so forth, and it's just a lot of stress on those bolts in the back. So I like to do that on occasion when I know I'm going to be working on something and, you know, I'm going to need some help getting it over this threshold here, but that's no big deal. Get that done. But now got to go get the Viper truck inspected, then we'll come back to this, and in fact it'll probably end up being in this area because I want to clean it all up, clean it down, and before I start tearing stuff apart. That way stuff is clean when you're taking it apart and you're not getting dirt and everything else, you know, up and behind the timing cover, underneath the valve covers when you take those off, so on and so forth. So we'll be in full engine detailing mode here when we get back. This is why you want to change your water pump. Look at this. Whew. Yeah, need to make sure we get that all nice and clean. got the intake manifold off. Well, actually we got a lot of stuff off. All the accessories are off. Wiring harness for the injectors and all the motor sensors is off. And coolant lines, the oil cooler, got the exhaust manifolds. And we do have the famous bolt that breaks in exhaust manifolds, and it's broken up in there, which sucks, but whatever, we will overcome that. And got most of everything degreased and cleaned up. There's a little bit more to go here, and I'll probably give this a coat of paint because, well, why not? So looking at the top end of things here, you can see these motors have all types of room down in the center section here. We have like rat droppings, dirt, debris, everything else. But if we take a sneak peek down in the intake cylinders, we can see the valves in there, and you know, the carbon path and everything looks pretty good. And there's that number 1 cylinder that was opened up, or that didn't have the spark plug in it, but everything looks to be in pretty good shape in here, so I really can't complain. I'm gonna vacuum that out just a little bit more, make sure that there's nothing in there, and we'll plug all those up with some paper towel. So I know all of this could look pretty intimidating to a lot of people. The important thing to note is just make sure you know where your hardware goes. I haven't taken these motors apart and put them back together like I have with 5-liter motors, so you can see I've put hardware all back where I took it out of, so that way I can keep track of it. It's not like a Fox body motor where I can pick up that bolt and I know exactly where it goes. So I'm just keeping track of that, and I need to figure out how to get that lower crank pulley off. I should have done that when the motor was still in the truck. That was a big whoops there. I'm gonna have to see if there's a tool or something, because I have no way to keep the crank in place, at least as far as I know, that can allow me to break that sucker off. It's reverse thread, and I've heard, you know, horror stories on this. I remember when my friend Charles had his GT500, I actually had the breaker bar up on the frame and bumped the starter, and that's how ultimately that had enough force to knock the threads on that sucker loose. So I'll have to see what goes on there. Now it's pretty much just going to be clean up, prep, paint, making it look pretty, and then we'll go through and get to all the gaskets that are sitting over there, get all that stuff swapped in, and then we can start putting stuff back together again, which is the most exciting part. All right, I got it off. Man, I thought that bar was going to break, and thankfully it didn't. You can see what I did here. Jam this bolt right through one of the holes that would go into the torque converter. You can see how I messed up that hole, and that just kind of kept things locked in place. And thankfully managed to get it off. I think I did mess up the rubber. I'm not sure. Hopefully I didn't mess up the rubber, but I've got my other one anyways, so hopefully it's good, and won't need to worry about that. All right, so things are looking pretty here, with the exception of that stud that is broken off in the cylinder head. And this is a very common stud to break in 5.4s, not just specific to Lightnings. I don't know what it is. It's probably heat expansion, God knows what, and that guy always loves to break. So got myself a brand new drill bit here, because everything that I had wasn't very good. This is a red Helix hard metal Milwaukee, and I am just going to drill in it some, and then I borrowed an Easy Out from Ricky. So hopefully, a little bit of luck, we will get this out. Not a ways to go yet. Ooh, look at that. I won on that one, guys. I won on that one. Yeah, I was drilling through that one nice and straight too. Awesome. So this should go in like nothing. So I got the passenger side of the motor pretty much good to go. Got the block cleaned, painted up, got all the hardware cleaned, and used the wire wheel on it just to get any corrosion or little spots, just making stuff look fresh, making stuff easy to thread in. So blocks painted, heads painted, timing cover is not painted. That will happen later. Neither is the oil pan. Once I take the pan off and do the pump and clean everything out in there, I'll paint the pan up. So now you can see the night and day difference of the passenger side compared to the driver's side. So now I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning up this side so we can get that side to look as good as this side. So there we go. All right, guys, so you can see my process is pretty simple. A couple cans of brake clean to initially clean everything down, and then go over it with some brushes, Scotch pad. The brake clean's really nice. It'll turn like the grease, well, it'll knock most of any of the grease and oil and all that type of stuff off, and then it'll leave just kind of like the dirt behind. So you really just got to kind of knock all that off. Of course, you want to keep everything scuffed up and give the paint a surface to stick to. So that's the main reasoning between just making sure that everything is gone over. And if you see little light spots of dirt, make sure you get those out, because well, paint isn't going to stick to dirt. So just going to go over now with some more wax and grease remover, and that's just going to make sure that, you know, any other leftover oily bits or whatever is taken care of. So we just want to wipe down everything with this, and then you'll see it'll kind of stay wet looking because it evaporates really fast. And if you end up putting it on something greasy, it'll kind of leave it wet, and you'll know that you'll need to work on that area a little bit more. So normally I use like a shop cloth like this one, wipe everything down, and then I'll go over with a microfiber, wipe everything down, and then we'll start masking stuff up, because I'm going to do the block is going a different color than the cylinder head. So need to make sure we don't get paint on stuff we don't want painted. All right, so the product I'm using on this block is Seymour High Heat Hot Spot, resists up to 1200 degrees Fahrenheit, wood burning stoves, lantern grills, exhaust manifolds, everything else. So this is going to be like your traditional black that's going to probably mimic exactly what's on the block here. Now the thing with Seymour paint, you want to make sure that you actually shake this can for a minute, all right? And we're going to do some light coats and a little trick in between. That's going to do it for coat 1. Now, little torch. Again, make sure you're in a well-ventilated area so you're not full of paint fumes and blow yourself up. And we are going to heat the paint. Now, high heat paints, this is really important because the characteristics of the high heat, they won't cure unless you get it hot. Now, of course, if you could just fire up this motor, well, it's going to get hot and help cure. But since we can't just start it up right now, just going to heat it up with the torch. And I'm only going to do 2 coats. You can see when the paint turns that nice flat black. Try not to catch your tape on fire. So for the cylinder heads, we'll be using Seymour's Cast Blast. Similar product, good for up to 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. And we'll do the same thing. Spray it on, heat it up. This needs the heat to help it cure. So there you have it. Hopefully this helps you in terms of if you're ever painting a block or any of your engine components and you want a little bit of process on how to do it so it'll last longer. Well, here you go. All right, so we got the block done and got the cylinder head done. We don't have up in here done. I'm gonna clean this up and we'll give this a good cleaning and spray that up as well, same way that we did the outsides here. And next task is gonna be taking off the timing cover and then doing the chains, the tensioners, and just getting all that stuff done.